The UFC is in Denver, Colorado this weekend for UFC Fight Night 139 on Saturday, and perhaps more importantly, to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the UFC. That is right, 25 years ago it all began here in Denver, Colorado. Now, normally I like to step outside and get you something a little bit more scenic for these previews, but it's cold out there, I'm not gonna lie. So we're sitting in my hotel room, but I did make sure there was a pine tree right behind me so you get a sense of where we are in the beautiful mountainous air of Denver. Of course, in the main event, it is Chen Sung-Jung, the Korean Zombie versus Yair Rodriguez. Yair Rodriguez, of course, stepping in on just 2 weeks' notice to replace Frankie Edgar, who was originally scheduled in this main event. Now, both guys in the headlining fight are stepping in on a lengthy layoff. So what's at stake here? Well, quite a bit in the featherweight division. These are two fighters that both had a lot of star power, a lot of hype behind them at one time, but these layoffs have cost them. Nevertheless, they are both still very relevant in the division, and the Korean Zombie, for one, admits that he sees big matchups on the horizon if he can pick up a victory here.
No, my focus is completely on providing a show, a performance that'll stir up the audience.
Meanwhile, Yair Rodriguez, don't forget, was out of the UFC for a little while. Now, those issues have since been resolved. He is back. He is excited. And he insists, even though he's stepping in on short notice, it is a brand new attitude, a brand new mentality, and he believes he's going to be better than ever.
But life happens, guys. Life happens, you know, and sometimes you can do shit about it. You know, you gotta keep on rolling with it. And sometimes it's harder than when it looks, you know, whenever you don't have my shoes on. But you know, I'm back here without remembering any bad thoughts or whatever. You know, now I'm here. Just focus on the positive things, and now I'm back in the UFC. I'm headlining an event. Everything is back to normal, looks like. You know, and I'm excited to do and do a great performance this Saturday.
So those are two big names in the main event at 145 pounds. They both face some layoffs, but one of them will gather some much-needed momentum with a big win here. Now, what else matters on this card? Well, you don't have to look very far. The co-main event, Denver's own Donald Cowboy Cerrone against the fast-rising slugger, Mike Platinum Perry. Now, this is, I think, the fight, to be honest with you, that most fans are probably looking forward to. It looks like on paper it's going to be a shootout, to say the least. Now, there's a little bit of animosity between the two guys as well. Don't forget, it was Mike Perry who went to the Jackson Wink MMA, kind of ruffled the feathers a little bit, brought up some issues that were bubbling beneath the scenes there, and Cowboy Cerrone has since left the camp. Now, for Cowboy's part, he says, listen, my problem is not with Mike Perry at all. It's actually with Mike Winkeljohn.
But no hard feelings against Perry at all. He's just doing what he's like any fighter would do that is looking for a new camp, and he's there, and he just fell victim to circumstances, man.
But you don't feel like, I don't know, like, I mean, he came in and they picked him, and I got like a breakup with a girlfriend or something. You know, they picked that guy instead of me.
I wish it came down to that, but it came down to the money. Like, Michael Winkeljohn's solely about the money, and it's shitty to say that, and it is what it is. But we're not even gonna give that conversation any more effort. But yeah, Perry, no hard feelings with him. He's a fucking brawler. It's gonna be fun.
The same cannot be said, however, for Mike Perry, who insists that this is personal at every single level. And while he does have some respect for Cowboy Cerrone, he is also the enemy this weekend, and he expects to do violent things when they meet in the cage.
Because you gotta be mean. You gotta want to smash their skulls in with your fists, period. Like, and like when I say that, it doesn't do it justice. The way that I feel on the inside when I say I'm gonna smash your skull with my fists, like I'm picturing, and I can feel your brain in my hand. Like, I'm gonna eat you alive. I'm gonna fucking kill you, period.
So a big fight in the welterweight division. It looks like it could be a lot of fun on paper. And by the way, if Donald Cerrone can prove victorious, he would also become the UFC's all-time wins leader. So big stakes for a guy there that's been doing this for a long time. Now, who else made my list this week? Well, listen, it's somebody that I've been keeping an eye on for quite some time, but got to spend a little bit more time around it this week. Macy Barber. Just love the confidence that this young lady brings in. Just 20 years old, making her UFC debut. Fans of women's MMA or the regional scene have probably seen her on the rise up, made her way in through Dana White's Contender Series as well. But she is not nervous one bit at all for this opportunity. Insists that she is going to be the UFC's youngest ever champion. And man, there's just an air about her when she talks.
It's confidence, you know. The nerves, it's hard to be nervous when you're doing everything you possibly can. I mean, they're gonna come and go, but overall, if you do everything you possibly can, you're gonna be confident. That's what I'm here to do, right? So it's kind of backwards to ask for something and then feel nervous or scared about it. I mean, you know, if you're saying you want to do something, you want to do it, and you just got to push through, you know, the nerves or whatever thoughts you have.
So a potential new star on the rise there in the strawweight division. She is facing a late replacement in Hannah Seifers, who, for her part, did seem a little bit more nervous when she talked to us.
It's pretty exciting. Really looking forward to it.
Any nerves at all? I mean, is this a moment that you had envisioned, or did it kind of catch you by surprise? What did you think?
I was kind of surprised to get it on short notice, but still got really excited about it. A little bit nervous, but...
All right, so that could be a very fun fight as well. Listen, you're looking for prospects to watch, other names to keep your eye on as well. Well, listen, how about two guys that have already registered wins in the UFC, but both come from the Ultimate Fighter 27? That is Mike Trizano and Luis Pena. The man you may know better as the Violent Bob Ross. He has actually said at this point, he's not even sure people know his name anymore. He's fine if you just call him Bob. But listen, he believes that after being injured in the Ultimate Fighter tournament, he still wants to prove to people that he probably was the rightful winner of that show.
I just felt as though this was the correct fight to make. This is the one that makes the most sense. You know, there were a lot of people after the fight that said I would have won if I never got injured, and I don't, you know, in my opinion, there is no would have. I would have won if I didn't get injured, and I want the chance to prove that, and I'm sure Mike wants the chance to prove those people wrong, so it just makes the most sense.
Meanwhile, Mike Trizano, not buying into it, said, listen, injuries are part of the game. What's happened has happened, but what happens here is not going to determine who won the Ultimate Fighter 27. Nevertheless, Mike doesn't think it's going to matter. He believes this is a fight that he can certainly win.
No, show's over. The show ended in July, you know? You can argue, oh, I should have won, this and that. You know, injuries is a part of the sport. You can't stop that. You know, everyone gets banged up. I was banged up on the show. You know, unfortunately his was a little more severe, but look, it is what it is. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. But it's just another fight. He's in the UFC, I'm in the UFC. Nothing to complain about.
So it's the Ultimate Fighter 27 winner against the guy who said he would have won the Ultimate Fighter 27 had he not been hurt. That's one worth watching. And listen, there's a lot of interesting matchups on here. We did lose one with Ray Borg versus Joseph Benavidez. Borg had to bow with sickness. That's one we really wanted to see. You do have Raquel Pennington looking to rebound from that recent title loss earlier this year against Germaine de Randami, who was the women's featherweight champion, had to give up that belt, moving back down to 135. She's had nearly 2 years on the shelf after refusing to face Chris Cyborg and then dealing with some injuries along the way as well. So she's looking for a fresh start to her name as well. So all that goes down at UFC Fight Night 139 in Denver. MMA Junkie, of course, will be on scene bringing you everything you need on Fight Night. And in the meantime, if you're looking to get prepped up, just check out MMA Junkie to see everything that we've covered all week long here in Denver.